I have got some ghost stories for you.
I feel something crawl into the bed with me and it starts to spoon me.
There was a time where I would be in bed falling asleep and I would hear my name being called. Different voices call my name.
Poof, the person disappeared right in front of our eyes.
And we were both like, did you see that?
There was this figure of a woman. Her skin was bluish and her hands were clawed and her mouth was wide open.
So that is my ghost story.
Hi, and welcome to Haunted AF, the podcast of real ghost stories told by real people. We are your hosts. I'm Julie Fisk.
And I'm Rebecca Black.
And welcome to our top 10 countdown of 2024. Woo! Can you believe we have made 6 of these now over the years?
No, not at all. I cannot. I can't believe it. That's so much.
It really
so much.
I had to go in and count because I was like, no, it's been 5. Surely it's just 5. No, it's 6. We're going on 6 years, Rebecca.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, how long have y'all been doing this podcast? I was like, 4 years. Just the 4.
Well, COVID landed right in the middle of it.
True.
Which just screws up everything.
The time warp of COVID is a real thing. Did you know that traditionally these are some of our most listened to episodes?
Yeah.
So if this is your first like four-way. This is the 4-way with
Wink,
Haunted
wink.
AF and Yolema. If this is your first foray into Haunted AF, welcome. Please stick around, binge it all, and remember that we also post the video versions on YouTube, which are lots of fun.
Yes, and remember that we've also got exclusive content on our Patreon page. So when you run out of episodes, you can head over there. It's only $5 a month, and it helps us to keep the podcast afloat.
Yep.
Like big love to Cindy Clark and Jill C, who just became patrons.
Yay.
You can take care of that at patreon.com/hauntedaf. And before we get into the stories, we have to say big time thank you and love to our friend Michelle Gautier.
Oh my gosh, yes,
who made
Michelle.
these incredible shirts for us.
Don't be an ass squatch. Amazing.
She made these for us. We
She
love
made
you.
them?
She made them. Yes.
Look how cute Bigfoot is.
I know, this is a really good, it's like a Harry and the Hendersons Bigfoot.
Yes, which is my favorite, you know.
And Michelle, we love you. We love all of our listeners and our patrons. You guys are amazing.
You're the best.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys, let's jump into it with our number 10 story of the year, which is a great example of how a story doesn't actually have to be a scary story to simply be weird shit.
That's the greatest theme song ever.
Like I know we were doing the Wayne's World. That sounds like the turkeys.
It's totally turkeys.
When we do the turkey gobble.
Yeah, it's turkeys for sure. So, but it's appropriate for this story from RC. Hi, Julie and Rebecca. I'm finally sharing this weird childhood experience that has baffled me for nearly 50 years.
Oh, man.
For decades, I told no one about it and avoided even thinking about it because despite the innocuous and even silly circumstances, it freaked me the F out. When I was a kid in the 70s, I loved watching TV and I loved playing Yahtzee. I went through a phase where I would sit on the floor in our finished basement and play Yahtzee by myself while watching TV. I'd keep score and everything.
Oh, I love that.
Me too. It sounds so dumb now, but I guess it was like the olden times equivalent of playing a game on my phone while listening to podcasts, which I do now.
You're totally right. That's a great way to describe it.
Yes. I guess I should explain Yahtzee to the uninitiated first. You have 5 dice and a little cup that you use to roll them. The object is to roll certain combinations for points, and the highest scoring move is 5 of a kind or a Yahtzee. So one day I was around 12 years old doing my TV Yahtzee thing in the basement. I ran upstairs during a commercial break. While I was up there, I had some sort of argument with my mom. I can't imagine what would have caused such a blow up because they were rare for us, but I remember being really angry. I stomped downstairs, plopped in front of the TV, grabbed the Yahtzee cup, and immediately rolled 5 sixes. Like you roll.
Yeah.
I put the dice back in the cup, shook it, and rolled 5 sixes again.
No way.
And something's off. So I kept going, and I swear to you, the all 6 rolls continued.
Holy crap.
After about 5 Yahtzees in a row, I decided to take a break from the dice because it seemed wrong. I tried to pretend it had never happened, but a few days later, I pulled out the game and tried to recreate the experience. After several random rolls, I remembered that my earlier experience happened when I was angry. So I tried thinking angry, dark thoughts, Y'all, I rolled 5 6s.
No freaking way.
I replicated my Yahtzee experiment on one other occasion before fear took over and I ended my career as an adolescent clairvoyant.
That's probably smart.
Yeah. This story might not strike your listeners as scary, but as a kid, I truly felt that I had crept into some weird and dark world and then made the conscious decision to turn away from it. Today, I consider myself a skeptic, but I also believe the human mind and spirit are powerful and that some phenomena simply can't be explained by science. I've always wondered if I had some kernel of psychic ability that could have been developed if I hadn't noped right out of that Yahtzee experiment. I hope you can use this story. Thanks for the fun show. And that is from RC.
I mean, you could try again, RC. I'm
That's-
just saying.
That's what I asked.
Did you?
Yeah. I was like, I sent the email. I was like, have you tried as an adult? Have you tried this again? I haven't heard back yet. Never in a million years did I think Yahtzee would be scary.
No,
you know, or
no,
possessed
no.
or something.
But those 6s, come on.
I know that feels evil for
Wrong.
sure. This next story came from a listener who encountered a pervy ghost.
Ooh.
That's why we call her number 9, Lizzie's Grope.
Hello, ladies. It's Lizzie here in Atlanta or Atlanta. Got to say it right? So I was listening to an old episode of your podcast, and I just had a memory about this time that I was ghost hunting in this very old, and I mean very old, one of the first houses built in Massachusetts. So we are ghost hunting in this historic home. I was in this room where this woman used to sit and look out the window and wait for her husband to come home. So I'm standing in the middle of the room and I've got a ponytail in my hair, like in the back of my head. And someone blew on my neck and then touched my back. And I'm like, and then we're sitting in that room, just sitting quietly, and we're recording. And all of a sudden I feel it was like someone took their hand, because I'm sitting on the floor, like cross-legged, and I feel someone run their hand under my butt cheek. Like I could feel the fingers coming and just sliding under my butt. So I got felt up. You know, it happens even with live people. Not so much anymore because I have an old butt now. But yeah, back then even the ghosties wanted to fill me up, I guess.
We also collaborated with some really great podcasters this year, including Laura Krantz from Wild Things. We love her. And the boys from This Paranormal Life, who I think might be like our twins on the other side of the pond.
Kit and Rory.
Oh, they're so great. Some of our favorite stories this year came from Beyond the Shadows podcast, including this one from Scott. Here is number 8.
All right. So my story happens in a small town in Maine also. I was 3 to 4 years old, and I was at my grandparents' house. My grandfather was building a barn behind his house, and my brother and I were playing on the wood piles. My brother's he's 5 years older than me. So wherever he went, I was following behind him. And he's jumping along from wood pile to wood pile. It's all the wood stacked up to build the barn. And I remember as he was jumping down, I was jumping down behind him. And on one of the piles, he jumped off. And then when I jumped off, I tripped off the top of the pile and I fell. And when I fell and hit the ground, the entire wood pile slid down over the top of me.
Ooh.
And I was stuck underneath. There was a bunch of people because they're all working on the barn, building the barn. So my brother starts screaming. He's like, he's stuck under the pile. He's under the pile. And he's trying to show him where it's at. And my mother and my brother are pulling wood. They're trying to get it off of him. My brother's probably only maybe 10 years old at the time, 9-10 years old. And then I remember my grandfather comes running out from inside of the house. I remember the whole thing because I'm literally watching it from above. Ooh. I never used to be able to explain what it would look like, but nowadays it's kind of like when you see a drone, you know, like that view from a drone. It's almost like a 360 view. I was above watching the whole thing happen. And then instantly I go from above seeing it all, and then I'm gone. And I'm in a room that's completely black. And I'm sitting on the lap of an old man who's got a long white beard. He's wearing a white gown, and we're in a rocking chair, and he's just holding me, rocking me back and forth. And he's saying to me, "It's okay. You're going to be all right." I remember the room was like, the walls were like black, but they're giving off like light. It's really hard to explain. Kind of like space is how I picture, space being like. We just sat there in the room. He just rocked back and forth, telling me I was going to be okay. The only way I can describe him is what maybe a small child would think the image of God would look like. Sure. I mean, he was glowing white white beard, white gown, white everything, just rocking back and forth. And then all of a sudden, instantly, I'm not in that room anymore. I'm in my mom's arms. My mother pulled me out from under the pile. They got the wood off and she pulled me out from under the pile. And she said, when I talked to her about it later, that I was absolutely purple. She pulled me out from under the pile. Jeez. And like instantly, right back in her arms, I was back.
Sometimes a story will stick with us for a few weeks. Like everybody keeps wanting to share their input and thoughts. That was the case when Stephanie sent in this EVP from the Shawshank Redemption Prison, which is our number 7.
That's a good one.
I went to the Ohio State Reformatory in June as a birthday gift from my sister.
Fun.
We did the overnight tour, and let me tell you, so many stairs. Also, since Shawshank Redemption was filmed there, they have character cutouts, and Morgan Freeman scared me a couple of times, which he was so sweet in the movie.
I know.
Yeah. Anyhow, we were in the basement, and I caught an EVP. To me, it sounds like someone saying, I'm here, or I heard. All in all, it was fun, but we had major car issues when we left, and I didn't know if we were going to make it back home. Was it ghost related? Who knows? And that is from Stephanie. So this is the audio that Rebecca and I were playing around with yesterday that was tripping us out. So listen carefully. I've got it turned up a little bit so you can hear his voice more. So here's the wild thing. Here, let's play it one more time.
Okay.
So what do you think that sounds like?
I feel like it sounds, first of all, I think it sounds like an English accent, and it's somebody going, tiger. Tiger, round, tiger.
Oh my God.
Now that you hear it.
Tiger. What? I mean, what is he saying? Okay, so
what do you hear?
It doesn't sound like a word to me, but
it doesn't.
It's just,
you
it's
definitely
like,
hear it though. It's something.
It's yes, and it sounds like a voice. It's so strange, but the really wild thing about it, the first time I listened to it, I wrote her back, and I'm like, "Are you sure it's nobody in your group whispering?"
Right.
She's like, "No, that wasn't it." But when we record it, the wave file, there's always this little wave that goes through. You guys know what it looks like. The audio files, it does not register.
Right.
And that was crazy to me.
I agree.
So
you literally emailed it to me, and I was like, let me put it into my audio software and see what's up.
So, and you had the same experience.
Same experience. I even like normalized the volumes and lifted everything up and tried to like even it out, and it still didn't raise at all in that one section.
Yeah. Meaning it does not register as a sound or a human voice or anything.
Yep.
Which is crazy because you see like the ups and downs there at the end from her turning off the recording.
It's weird.
I don't even know what to do with that.
Right.
Listen one more time. Tiger. I can't unhear it.
And it always amazes us how often we hear similar stories, just to see how we really are experiencing so many of the same things. But every now and then, a story pops up that we've truly never heard before. Such was the case with our number 6 story from Jonathan. All right, so here is Jonathan's ghost story. And I put ghost in quotations because it's only one of 2 rational explanations I've come up with. One day during summer break in middle school, me and my brother were sitting in the living room watching Maury. You are not the father. Sorry, I've been waiting for that joke all day.
Yeah.
It was a bright summer day and no one was home because our parents were at work. In our living room was a TV and 2 sofas with a potted tree between them. I don't know what kind of tree it was, but it was it basically looked like a palm tree with a very skinny trunk. My grandma had one of those. I know exactly what you're talking
Silk
about.
ficus. We had them all over our house.
Ficus.
Ficus.
I used to put Christmas tree lights in it and they would never stay on. It was sad. You could wrap your thumb and index finger around it. Yeah, it is tiny. Well, I'm sitting directly in front of the TV and my brother's on the sofa to my left when out of nowhere, the tree starts shaking. It was like someone grabbed the trunk and started violently shaking it to get our attention. As soon as we turned to look at it, which took only a second or 2, it stopped moving. The leaves were still settling though.
Oh,
that's crazy. We sat in silence for a few seconds looking at the tree thinking there had to be a squirrel or a rat in it, even though the tree was so thin it couldn't hold anything.
That's true because you remembered and you would see something in it.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that you would be able to see if it was some sort of something.
Yeah, it's not like dense leaves or something.
Yeah. Then we got up and started looking around, checking behind the couch and even under the pillows, but Nothing. We didn't know what to do and tried to keep watching TV when a few minutes later, we heard a bunch of coins fall down the hall. At that point, we were panicking. I gathered some courage and checked the room we shared, where I found that our 101 Dalmatians piggy bank had dumped all of our coins out. This piggy bank had a round hole on the bottom, but we'd lost the cap and had taped it closed to keep the coins in. I think every kid had to do that at some point.
At some point, yes.
The tape had given way, which is why all of the coins fell out. I mean, maybe it was just a coincidence, but it happened right after the tree incident. My brother and I couldn't make sense of it all. Later that day, we told our parents and a renter who was living with us, but of course, none of them believed us. And then a week later, my brother and I were watching TV again, but this time with the renter, and the tree started shaking again.
Right. A witness this time.
I love it. Yes. And just like last time, as soon as we looked at it, it stopped. Me and my brother freaked out and yelled, "Do you believe us now?" I just see these kids like, "Do you believe us? You say it." Yeah. Well, the renter was shocked, and like we had before, he got up to look for answers. And just like the last time, there was nothing. It's been almost 20 years, and me and my brother remember the whole thing like it happened yesterday. I came up with one logical explanation that maybe plants and trees have spasms, but it's never been witnessed or recorded. After all, they are living things, and some plants, like the Venus flytrap, really do move. I totally understand this thought process. If that was the case, though, why did it stop as soon as we looked at it?
Still no idea what made that tree shake.
No, it still kind of creeps me out.
I love things that don't seem scary.
Yes.
But just because it's so weird and random, it becomes scary.
Right?
And since we're midway through our countdown, we want to take a second for some honorable mentions. Like we're still chuckling over Doug's pantless woman in the New Zealand cemetery. No idea what was going on with that. The deceased grandpa who taught his grandchild how to roll joints. We're still puzzling over the woman who found a selenite crystal hidden in one of her socks while staying at a hot springs rental. And I was just in Hot Springs. That is a creepy little town. We need to go back there.
Okay, I'm down. I'm on board. We should probably also send some love to our chaos goblin out of Canada, Scott. Damn you, Scott.
Oh, Scott, be nice, be nice.
Terrorized not only the museum he haunted, but also our very own podcast with his technical glitches. Scott, we love you, but please make your way to the light, buddy.
Yes.
Just go on in. We cannot have any more of that.
All right, back to the countdown, which wouldn't be complete without some creepy kids.
Mm-hmm.
Paige shared some of her son's stories with us, and they are our number 5 this year.
All right. Hi, ladies. I hope you're still taking submissions. I literally just found you on TikTok, and I have been binging you the past week. But I have so many stories, but one is from when my son was 3, so this is about 9 years ago. We lived with my in-laws, and my brother-in-law, he always said, "Oh my God, the house is so haunted." They all still say it. Friends would sleep over. They all heard voices, blah, blah, blah. Well, our 3-year-old was in that room at that time. I'm trying to put him down, and we're talking, and he's like, "Mom," in his little kid voice, "do not leave." And I'm like, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I don't like the skeleton man." And I said, "Okay." And I'm getting the chills even talk about this, but he's like, "The skeleton man, he's so mean to me and he bites me at night." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "He bites me so hard, he wakes me up." So I'm like, "Okay, buddy, like, where is he? Is he here now?" And he goes, "He's not in here, but he's outside." And I went, "Where?" And he said, "He's standing by the pool and he's staring up at the window. He's waiting for you to leave the room." And I was like, no. Like, that's no, thank you. So I show him to the window and he goes, "Yep, he's down there." And I was like, "Okay, buddy, you just tell him to go away. You don't want him here. He's not okay." And he goes, "Mom, it's okay though. Because when he's really being mean to me, there's a really, really nice lady at the foot of my bed and she yells at him and she tells him to go away." And I knew it was my mother. She is all of our guardian angels. Another instance, putting him in bed again, and he's like, "You should sleep in here with me. Don't go in there with Daddy." And I said, "Oh, what's wrong, buddy?" And it's about the same, 3, 4. "Oh, there's 2 men in your room and they do not like you and they are not happy." And I went, "Honey, I'm sleeping with Chase tonight. I'm not coming in there."
Oh, don't that sound.
I can't help
it's
it.
too much. The biting goes.
I cannot
Yikes.
help it. Okay, so sometimes we get a ghost story that is really great, but it gets even better when we see the encounter where it took place. That's what happened when we heard Allison's story, which is number 4 on this countdown.
In 2002, I went to Oregon to visit someone I'd been talking to online, which in retrospect was stupid. Yeah, but I think people do that all the time.
They do.
Anyway, so.
It's common now.
Yeah. Anyway, we were driving to the coast and ended up at a hotel called
Seagull Inn in Lincoln City. My friend and I immediately went to the beach when we got unpacked. At this point, it was like 10:30, 11 p.m., so very dark. We were sitting pretty far back from the water when I looked to my right and I saw a woman with a long white dress carrying a basket. I turned to my friend and said, "Oh, great, we've got company." In the 2 seconds it took to turn and say that, I looked back and she was like 15 to 20 feet out on the water.
Oh, dang.
I was stunned, but thought that's weird. So to test it again, I looked back at my friend and then back at the woman who was back on the beach again. I closed my eyes like a blink and she was back out on the water. I told my friend, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a ghost." We watched her for like 10 minutes and even had to walk past her to get back to the hotel. That's when we noticed she had no feet and was like floating. Her dress had also changed from white to black. Never saw her face, and I don't think she noticed we were there because she never disappeared. Now, my husband and I honeymooned in Oregon and went to that same hotel. My husband went out on the beach one night and sat in the dark hoping to see her, but no such luck.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know.
It's so
It really is.
cute.
I need to know though why she didn't go back out
Right?
there. Yeah.
Maybe scared.
I even emailed the hotel to see if anyone else had seen her, but didn't get a reply. Thanks for reading. And again, that is from Allison.
Man,
so
a ghosty 10-minute show.
yeah, isn't
That's
that amazing?
a long time to see an apparition.
So I asked Allison, I said, when she was out on the water, was she like in the water? Or and she said she was like floating
Like
above
hovering.
the water. There it is.
Ooh.
It's kind of like, tell me you're a haunted hotel without saying you're a haunted.
100% yes.
Yeah, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you go find that picture because just looking at it, you're like, oh, hell yeah, that place is haunted.
Totally.
Our number 3 story this year is another example of a story we just have to keep coming back to. Elizabeth sent a video that her friend took of something walking down a highway in Charleston, South Carolina. We debated it greatly for a couple of weeks, and you know what? We decided it's just got to be a ghost.
Gotta. This next one comes from Elizabeth. Hi, y'all. Wanted to send you this video my friend captured from her dash cam last Friday morning. She was traveling down Highway 61 in Charleston, South Carolina, and saw this figure on the left side of the road. Highway 61 has 3 historic plantations along it, but it's very unusual to see anyone walking along it, let alone at 4:30 in the morning. When she showed us at work that morning, we thought it looked possibly like a woman from the 17th or 1800s carrying something in her hands. What do y'all think,
All right,
Elizabeth?
let's take a look at this one. So, oh wait, did we already pass it? I think we already passed her.
Look at that.
Did you just notice how dark it got in
Yeah,
here?
that's weird.
That was creepy. There she is. Okay. I have frozen this so many times.
Yeah.
I think that's a ghost.
Yeah, I think it is as well.
I legit think that that's a ghost.
I actually thought it might be a person on a horse. Look, that looks like a horse head to me.
That looks like a horse head?
Yeah, and then like a person is on top of it.
So what do you guys think? HauntedAF.com. Go check it out on our social medias. We're going to post all of this.
What
To
do
me,
you think?
I think it's a ghost.
I would agree. All right, so we were actually super pumped when Danielle and Cassie from National Park After Dark agreed to come on our show. But what we did not expect was for them to lay down one of the scariest stories that we heard all year. Both of them had some chilling experiences, but Danielle's Furbo story, that is number 2.
My partner, Ian, passed away in May of 2022. Mm-hmm. And after we were living in Washington at the time, and I decided to move back to Colorado in the months after his passing. And I was renting a really small cabin. It was a 1-bedroom cabin from the 1930s. It was like 500 square feet. It's really small. A couple of months after moving in, there were 3 incidents in rapid succession that definitely I got haunted. So the first incident, it started small. I started hearing footsteps in the living room when I was in the bedroom, which is, again, like, it's basically one giant room with, half a wall separating the rooms. And it was very distinct, like typical boots on the ground, walking from one side of the living room to the other. A couple of weeks after that, I was sitting in my living room and do you know what a Furbo is? Like the dog camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had it set up in my living room and I was sitting watching TV. All of a sudden, my dog from the other room comes rushing out. It's at night. All the lights are off. Yeah. He comes rushing out and sits directly on my feet and is looking around the room. and I'm watching him look around the room, like with his ears perked, like he's following something with his eyes. But I couldn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. All of a sudden, he is still looking around the room, and the Furbo, which I've had for years, starts clicking on and off, like from day mode, night mode, day mode, night mode. Like I see the red light clicking and I can hear it. And so I'm like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, because it tracks movement, it started to shift and move around the room.
No.
And so I open the app and I can see me clear as day with my dog sitting on the couch on the other end of the room. And it's just shifting around. There are orbs flying everywhere.
What?
Everywhere. And it's following what my dog is following with his eyes sitting on the floor. The third incident was on Day of the Dead. I always have like an altar up for Ian and my father, who has also passed away. And I was sitting and I was talking to them and doing some tribute stuff for them. And that evening, I fell asleep and I woke up, but I didn't open my eyes yet. And I just had this feeling that somebody was watching me, not in a scary way. I just felt like there was another presence around me. And I opened my eyes, and at the foot of my bed in the corner of my room, and I don't know how else to explain it, but it looked like a group of people, maybe like 4 or 5 people, and they were just standing there. And as soon as I, in my mind, recognized what and registered what I was seeing, they took a step towards me and I went, and they disappeared.
Oh my girl. Holy cow.
I got legit leg chills. Before we play our number one story of the year, just a quick reminder that we are taking January off for some podcast updates. In the meantime, pretty please leave us a good review. If you watch on YouTube, please subscribe. Follow the podcast so you'll know whenever we have new episodes. And all right, you probably already know what our number one story is because after hearing it, we both said, I think that's the best story we've had all year long.
Hands down.
Yeah, courtesy of Jason from the Beyond the Shadows podcast. It's that poor old lady that they scared.
Oh,
or did they?
I don't know.
So I grew up in a small town in southern Maine back when people actually left their doors unlocked. And literally everybody knew everybody. My friends and I traveled everywhere on our bikes back then. And it wouldn't be unusual for us to be like literally 3 or 4 towns away in our explorations. So one day back when I was maybe 12, my friend Dan and I were out fishing pretty far into the woods along a lazy creek we'd been to many times before. That day we weren't having much luck fishing, so we kept moving further and further into the woods looking for a better spot. It wasn't long before we were much further in the woods than we had ever been before. We came upon an old abandoned-looking house along the side of the river. Shutters were hanging off, the porch was sagging, and there was a rusty old basketball hoop sagging way down in the yard. It was creepy and intriguing all at the same time. There was nothing around, no other houses, and the most strange part was there was no sign of a trail, driveway, or any other means of getting to or from the house. That moment was too much for 2 12-year-olds to pass on, so we made our way inside of the abandoned house. The ground floor was old and dusty, and it appeared no one had been there in a really long time. Strangely, though, it wasn't empty, but rather looked like someone had up and left in a hurry one day and never come back. It was spooky for sure, but nothing terrifying. Eventually, we explored the whole floor and got ready to make our way up to the second. I remember neither one of us being too excited to go first, so we did a round of rock, paper, scissors to settle it. I don't remember what I threw up, but I do know that I had to go first. We were maybe 3 steps from the top when someone up above said, "Hello?" No. I just froze and looked over my shoulder at Dan, and he looked just as scared as me. So we stayed silent and motionless for what seemed like a minute or two. So I start up again when I hear clear as day, "Who's there?" Oh. We bolt down the stairs, out the door, and cross the porch in record time. As we're making our way back down the hill to the riverbank, I looked back over my shoulder to the window, and there was the face of an old woman looking back at us from between the old curtains. I know my heart didn't stop racing for hours, and we talked about how scary the whole situation had been the whole way home. By the next morning, we'd both decided that if we were that scared, then how must that old lady feel? We thought that the house was abandoned, but it wasn't. So we decided the only thing to do was to go back and apologize. And if we got in trouble, then so be it. It took us some time to make our way all the way back out there. But when we got to where we were positive it had been, there was no house, only a burned out foundation and a basement. It was clear that whatever had occurred had been years earlier. The previous day, as I'd been running down the embankment, I remembered seeing a strange granite column in the ground with faded writing and an old iron rod in the middle as I turned around to see the old woman staring down at us. Today, we walked around the site for some time trying to figure out what was going on. When we finally gave up and walked down the bank, I saw the exact same stone and turned around to look once more. No house, no old woman, but the burned out basement was exactly where it should have been. There was no doubt we were in the right spot. We were just in the wrong time.
That totally went where I wasn't expecting it to.
No, not at all. Holy
Yeah.
crap, the whole house was freaking gone.
The whole house.
Wow.
I love that
might
story.
be the best story we have had in a long time.
Yeah,
and we've had some
agreed.
good ones too.
Okay.
Holy crap. All right, you guys, thanks again for everything. You are amazing. We love you. Thank you for your scary stories and your continued support for Haunted AF, especially through this crazy ass year.
Seriously.
It's been wild. We started it off by dropping only one episode a month and ended up with more stories than we've done since COVID.
Yeah,
So thank you guys for that.
It's been a roller coaster ride, and we're just getting started. So
Yeah.
keep sending all those ghost stories. Or, God, do you have drones in your backyard? We want to hear those.
We had a plane like go by our window and it was like ridiculously close. And I swear to you, it was like hovering. And James is like, it's a plane. I'm like, no, it's a drone. They're spying on us. It was a plane.
We need your drone stories. Maybe Bigfoot or some cryptid we haven't met yet.
Oh, hey, it's my turn. I got really invested in the drones and Bigfoot.
Well, the drones are freaking me out.
Because it's like, it's happening everywhere.
It is.
Did you see the old man that shot down the Walmart one?
No.
It's such a Texas move. A Texas move.
It really is.
Don't forget, you guys, we are analyzing dreams now as well. So in our Beyond the Pillow segment, if you have not tuned in, it is very sexy. So if you've got an especially weird dream, please write it down, send it our way so that we can figure out what it means.
Yeah, and you know the drill.
Yep.
Write it or record it, audio or video, then send it to hauntedafpodcast@gmail.com so we can use it in 2025 on Haunted AF.